Right now, at this exact moment, something is shifting, and it is not just another ordinary day passing by quietly, because March 30th carries a pattern most people never stop to notice. Yet it influences how they think, how they feel, and even the decisions they are about to make, and the truth is simple but uncomfortable. Most people will scroll past this moment, ignore the signs, and move on like nothing is happening. But a small number of people will pause, pay attention, and realize that timing like this does not repeat often. And if you are hearing this right now, then you are already part of that small group that did not miss it. Because this is not about luck or coincidence. This is about awareness, and awareness changes everything. There are certain days where thoughts feel louder, where emotions feel heavier or clearer, where the need to change becomes difficult to ignore. And March 30 is one of those days where alignment begins to form quietly beneath the surface, not in a dramatic way that everyone can see, but in a subtle way that only those who are paying attention can feel. And this alignment is not just a poetic idea, it connects with real patterns in human behavior, cycles of focus, decision making, and mental clarity that often peak at specific points in time, yet most people never link these moments together. They simply feel something and move on without understanding it, and that is exactly why this matters right now. What you will learn in this video is not just a general idea or a vague message, but a clear breakdown of what this alignment actually means, why March 30 creates a shift that affects your mindset, and how small signals you might be ignoring are actually pointing you towards something important, something that has been building quietly over time. And more importantly, you will understand why ignoring this moment could mean staying stuck in the same patterns, while others move forward without you even realizing it. Because the difference between those who grow and those who stay the same often comes down to recognizing the right moment and acting on it. And most people miss that moment simply because they do not realize it is happening. There is also a lesser known pattern that few people talk about, and it is how certain dates act as psychological checkpoints where your mind naturally reviews your progress, your habits, and your direction. And March 30 sits at a unique position where this reflection becomes stronger, pushing you to either continue your current path or finally change it. And this is why people often feel a sudden urge to start something new, fix something they have been avoiding, or let go of something that no longer fits. But instead of understanding this signal, they distract themselves and the moment passes and nothing changes. And days later, they feel the same frustration again without knowing why. And that cycle continues again and again. Another important thing you will learn here is how this alignment is not about waiting for a perfect opportunity, but about recognizing that the opportunity is already forming, and it depends on whether you act or ignore it, because the universe does not force change, it presents it quietly, and the responsibility to respond always stays with you. And this is where most people fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack awareness at the right time. And awareness is exactly what you are gaining right now by staying here and listening instead of moving on. There is also a deeper layer to this that connects with how your attention works. Because when your focus shifts towards something meaningful, your brain starts filtering information differently, noticing opportunities, ideas, and solutions that were always there but hidden behind distraction. And this shift often begins on days like this when your mind is already slightly more open, slightly more aware, and ready to break out of routine. And that is why this moment matters more than it seems, because it is not just about today. It is about what today can start if you choose to pay attention and take even one small step in a new direction. As this video continues, you will start to recognize the signs that show whether you are aligned with this shift or resisting it without realizing. You will understand why certain thoughts keep returning to you, why certain decisions feel more urgent now than before, and what simple actions you can take right now to use this moment instead of losing it. Because once this window passes, it becomes just another missed opportunity that blends into the past, and the difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck becomes even wider. This is not about fear, it is about clarity. It is about finally seeing what has been in front of you the entire time, but hidden by routine, distraction, and hesitation. And by the end of this video, you will not just understand what is happening, you will feel it more clearly, and you will know exactly what to do next without confusion. And that is why staying until the end matters, because each part connects, each idea builds on the next, and missing even a small piece could mean missing the full picture that is slowly coming together. If this message reached you today, it is not random. And if you are still here listening, then you are already doing something different from most people. And that difference is where real change begins. So stay with this, pay attention to what follows, and take this moment seriously because it might be more important than it seems right now. And before we go deeper, welcome to the channel where we break down powerful ideas in a simple way that actually makes sense. And if you want more videos like this that help you understand what others overlook, take a second to subscribe and be part of the small group that chooses awareness over distraction. Pay close attention now because this is where most people quietly lose something important without even realizing it. Not because they are careless, but because the moment does not announce itself loudly. It does not force anyone to stop. It simply passes by like any other day. And that is exactly why it is dangerous to ignore, because the most important shifts in life rarely come with noise. They come in silence, they come in small thoughts, in subtle feelings, in quiet discomfort that people push away instead of understanding. And by the time they realize what they missed, the moment is already gone, and what could have been a turning point becomes just another ordinary memory. And this happens more often than people think. It happens in decisions not taken, in ideas ignored, in instincts that were felt but not followed. And over time, these missed moments start to shape a life that feels stuck, repetitive, and disconnected. And the truth is, many people are not stuck because they lack ability. They are stuck because they keep missing the exact moments that were meant to move them forward. And today carries that same risk because what is happening right now is quiet, almost invisible, but it is real and it is influencing you whether you notice it or not. And the difference between those who move ahead and those who remain in the same place often comes down to one simple thing: whether they recognize the moment when it arrived. There is a pattern behind this that most people never take the time to understand, and it is not something mystical in the way people often describe it, but it is not purely logical either. It exists somewhere in between, where your internal state meets external timing, where your thoughts begin to align with opportunities, where your attention shifts toward things that actually matter. And when this alignment happens, it creates a window, a short period where change becomes easier, clearer, and more natural, but only if it is recognized, because if it is ignored, the window closes and everything returns to the same cycle as before. And March 30 is one of those rare points where this alignment becomes stronger, where your awareness naturally increases even if you do not fully understand why. And this is why certain thoughts feel louder today, why certain ideas keep returning, why certain feelings refuse to be ignored. Because something is trying to push you out of your current pattern and into something different, something more aligned with what you actually need instead of what you have been repeating. This is not about believing in something blindly. It is about noticing what is already happening inside you. Because when alignment begins, it does not start outside, it starts within. It shows up as restlessness, as a quiet dissatisfaction with the way things are, as a growing sense that something needs to change, even if you cannot fully explain it. And many people experience this but dismiss it. They label it as overthinking, as mood, as nothing important. And by doing that, they disconnect themselves from the very signal that could guide them forward. And this is where the real consequence begins. Not in a dramatic way, but in a slow and silent way, where days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and nothing truly changes. And the same thoughts keep returning again and again, stronger each time, until they either become impossible to ignore or completely fade into frustration. And that is why this moment matters. Because it is not just another day, it is a point where your awareness is slightly elevated, where your ability to see clearly is slightly stronger, and where the choice to act or ignore becomes more important than usual. There is also something deeper happening beneath the surface that connects your thoughts, your actions, and the opportunities around you. And this connection is what creates alignment. It is when your internal state matches the direction you need to move in, when your focus starts to filter out distractions and highlight what actually matters. And when this happens, you begin to notice things differently. You begin to see options that were always there but never stood out before. You begin to feel a sense of direction that was missing. And this is not random. This is how the mind works when it becomes more aware, when it stops running on automatic patterns and starts paying attention. And March 30 acts as a trigger for this shift, not because of something external forcing it, but because of how timing, mental cycles, and attention patterns come together at certain points, creating a natural opportunity for clarity and change. You might have already felt this without realizing it, maybe in the form of a thought that keeps coming back no matter how much you try to ignore it, maybe in a feeling that your current routine no longer fits the way it used to, maybe in a quiet urge to start something new or let go of something that has been holding you back. And these are not random feelings, they are signals, they are indicators that your mind is trying to move you in a different direction. But the problem is not the signal itself. The problem is how easily it can be ignored because distraction is always available, routine is always comfortable, and change always carries uncertainty. And most people choose comfort without realizing the cost of that choice. They choose to delay, to wait, to tell themselves they will act later, and later never comes in the way they expect. It becomes another missed moment, another opportunity that quietly disappears. This is why most people never experience real change, not because they are incapable, but because they are constantly pulled away from awareness by distractions that feel urgent but are not important. Endless scrolling, repetitive habits, constant noise that keeps the mind busy but not focused. And in that state, even the strongest signals go unnoticed. Even the clearest moments of alignment pass by without impact. And fear adds another layer to this, because even when people do notice something, even when they feel that push to change, they hesitate, they question it, they doubt themselves, and instead of taking a small step, they stay where they are, convincing themselves that it is safer. But what they do not realize is that staying the same carries its own risk, a slow drift away from growth, a gradual loss of direction, a feeling of being stuck that becomes harder to break over time. Right now, the difference is that you are aware. You are not completely lost in distraction. You are listening, you are paying attention, and that alone changes how this moment affects you, because awareness is the first step toward action. And action does not need to be big or dramatic. It does not require a complete life change. It starts with something small, something simple, but something real. A decision that moves you slightly out of your current pattern and into a new direction. And that is what you should focus on right now. Not everything at once, not a perfect plan, just one clear step that you know you have been delaying, one choice that you already understand but have not acted on yet. And the moment you take that step, you begin to use this alignment instead of losing it. You begin to shift from passive to active, from waiting to moving. And that changes everything in a way that builds over time. At the same time, it is important to slow down enough to actually hear your own thoughts, because in the middle of noise and routine, your inner voice becomes quiet, almost impossible to notice, but it is still there, guiding you in subtle ways, pointing you toward what matters. And today is one of those moments where that voice becomes slightly clearer, where reflection becomes easier, where understanding comes faster, if you allow it. And this is why pausing matters, even for a short moment, stepping back from distractions, giving yourself space to think without interruption. Because in that space, patterns become visible, answers become simpler, and decisions become clearer. And what once felt confusing starts to make sense. Trust also plays a role here, not blind trust in something unknown, but trust in your own ability to recognize what feels right and act on it. Because hesitation often comes from overthinking, from trying to predict every outcome, from waiting for certainty that never fully arrives. And in doing that, people lose the advantage of timing. They miss the moment when action was easiest, when clarity was strongest, and instead they wait until the moment passes and everything feels harder again. And that is why trusting the timing of now matters, because it is not random that you are feeling this shift. It is not accidental that certain thoughts are appearing again. It is part of a pattern that you can either use or ignore. As everything comes together, it becomes clear that this is not just a message, it is a moment, a real point in time where awareness, thought, and opportunity are closer than usual, where the distance between where you are and where you want to be becomes slightly smaller. Not because something external changed suddenly, but because your perception of it did. And that shift in perception is powerful. It is what allows new actions to happen, new directions to form, and new results to begin, but only if it is recognized and used, because without action, even the strongest alignment fades away, leaving nothing behind except the feeling that something was missed, something that could have mattered, but was never taken seriously. And the truth is, you are not here by accident, not in this moment, not hearing this, not thinking about these ideas, because even small moments of awareness have meaning when they lead to action, when they change the way you respond instead of the way you react. And something right now is trying to move you forward, not in a forced way, but in a quiet, steady way that becomes stronger the more you pay attention to it, and weaker the more you ignore it. And the choice of what happens next is not outside of you. It is entirely in your hands in what you decide to do after this, in whether you treat this as just another piece of information or as a real signal that deserves your attention. Because moments like this do not last, but their impact can if you choose to act while they are still here. If this message reached you today, it carries a meaning that goes beyond simple timing, because not everyone stops, not everyone listens, and not everyone feels that quiet pull to understand what is happening beneath the surface. But you did, and that already sets you apart in a way that matters more than it seems, because awareness always comes before change, and change always begins with a single moment that feels different from the rest. And this could be that moment for you if you choose to treat it seriously instead of letting it fade like every other passing thought. So take this as your sign, not a loud or dramatic one, but a clear and steady reminder that something inside you is ready to move forward, ready to break out of the same patterns, ready to choose a different direction, even if it starts small. And that choice is what defines everything that comes next. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, while this feeling is still fresh and real, because once it fades, it becomes harder to return to this level of clarity again. And that is why this matters more than it seems right now. Stay connected to this awareness, hold on to this feeling, and do not let it disappear into distraction, because the difference between those who grow and those who stay the same often comes down to moments like this, moments that feel quiet but carry real power when acted upon. And if this message made you pause, made you think, or made you feel something shift even slightly, then stay close to content like this that keeps your mind focused and your direction clear. So take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need this message today, because sometimes the right words at the right time can change more than we expect. And you never know who else might be waiting for a sign just like this.